Well, welcome along. This is episode 11 of the Shrimps Trust podcast, the Shrimp Net. How do we get to 11 so quickly? It's because we're doing one a week, and I'm going to have to put my glasses on because I've got to read what I'm going to talk about now. No game since the Wednesday home win, which obviously we did plenty on last week, and the gaffer came on and gave us some real insight into his footballing brain. But today, we've still got plenty going on. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see I've got plenty of guests. We're beating him off with a stick currently, which is good. As usual, I'm joined by the head honcho from the trustees, the voice of the emails, and my sidekick, Joel Shooter. Welcome along, Joel.
Evening, Freeze.
We've also got the brains of the boardroom, and I always say that, James. So welcome along, James.
Evening, Freeze.
We've also got in a new touch, which a lot of people on Shrimps Voices and on the Facebook page on Morecambe FC have been voicing an interest in getting involved. And the first person to do so he's known as Bristol Shrimp, but he's known to the rest of us now as Dan. Welcome along, Dan.
Hiya.
And as you can see, two distinguished guests, both from the club. First of all, ex-Bolton, Wigan, Bury and Preston North End gloveless keeper, Simon Farnworth, now our physio. Welcome alongside.
Good evening. Nice to you.
And finally, the hero of Wembley, never a penalty, Kyle Letheren.
Good evening.
So we'll start as we mean to go on. No game for 2 weeks, Joel. We've been lucky in getting all these guests on with plenty to talk about. But looking at it, it's been a strange couple of weeks. Sam going. We're going to get an update on the situation for Wimbledon on Saturday off Farney and what have you. But what have you been up to?
What I've been up to, I've actually been moving to Manchester, so it's been a nice little week off to have from a game, giving me a bit of time to settle in. But no, yeah, it has been weird. It's been quite nice looking over the international games at the weekend and seeing obviously Alfred McCallum getting his first international start against, I think it was Estonia. So that was really good to see. And yeah, but it's getting at the point now. You know, I've had enough of there not being any club football on. So I've been looking forward to getting back this Saturday, because last Saturday I was actually at Oldham's ground. I was at Boundary Park for a bit of fan protest, and it was a bit of a dicey atmosphere with the kind of fans coming onto the pitch. And I was actually sat right behind the director's box, which I didn't realise until I'd got into the ground and sat there. So all the kind of "We want Abdullah out" chants were basically directed just about where I was. So it was quite funny being at the centre of all that. But yeah,
It was your fault.
Yeah, it was all my fault. Yeah, I was just. But yeah, it was quite interesting. But I'm very happy to be getting back to Mazima on Saturday.
So, well, I'll come to Farney. I mentioned how many appearances altogether, Farney? Quite a few, nearly 500, was it?
Yeah, 540, I think, games altogether.
And obviously, I know you played at Christie Park quite a few times in pre-season friendlies for Bolton and people like that. And
yeah,
then,
Bolton and Wigan played.
I do. I remember those, obviously. And then, obviously, qualified as a physio, Farney. And then, am I right in thinking, did you start at Liverpool Academy?
No, I started at Wigan Athletic, actually. I was a goalkeeper there, and then one day the manager called me when I was 34 years old and asked me to be his physio. It was a bit disturbing at the time, as you can imagine. He said, I thought you wanted me to be a goalkeeper. And he went, well, he said, I'm bringing somebody else in this year. He said, so I'll let you be physio. So that's how that started off. So I was Wigan physio for about 2 years.
And then you went, is that right? You went to Liverpool after that then?
That's how I went to Liverpool Academy. I had just building the academy at the time. Liverpool were the first club to build a proper academy. Steve Highway was the academy director. So I went there for an interview, got the job, and it was quite difficult at the time. I had to take the job. Obviously, Wigan were just starting to American football by Dave Whelan coming in. So it was a bit of a gamble to go to Liverpool, but in the end, I never regretted it.
And then you got the Morecambe job. Was that about 2000? Well, it's 12 years ago now, was it?
Yeah, 12 years ago. Yeah, we all got sacked at Liverpool. Rather than even sacked us all, the cabinet just cleared everybody out. There's nothing behind it. The While I was sort of taking a slight break, Rob Taylor rang me up and said that we're after a physio just a year or so after you've been in the league. So I just sort of did some homework on Morecambe. I wasn't sure about what they were and who they were, but obviously after meeting Rob, as you know, he's a very friendly fellow, and he sold it to me.
And the rest is history.
It is.
So, Joel, I'm going to let Joel point out his amazing fact about Farney, which I know he's been dying to use. But the other thing that's interesting for all listeners about Farney is that if you ever get to speak to him on a Saturday and he's not busy, tell him what you're eating for your tea, and he will supply the best wine. Am I right?
Yeah, I do like wine, red wine. I collect red wine and read a bit about it. So yeah, I try and keep on top of that. In fact, the managers are very keen on Pinot Noir. So anybody, if he does well, you want to buy him a bottle, Pinot Noir is the one for the manager. All
right, there you go. Right, Joel, your moment of fame has come.
I know, yeah. I've been looking forward to this. So basically, we discussed this before, but I was having a read, and turns out Farney is the last ever goalkeeper in England to go without gloves. So I'm just wondering, kind of, how did that happen? Was that something you kind of felt more comfortable doing, or?
Yeah, when I was young, obviously, a long time ago, the gloves that they've got now, the neoprene-based gloves, were not in existence. So when I played, I was 13, 14, 15, we used cotton gloves. And obviously on dry days, you found that your hands were better, for catching the ball. So you got used to it as a young person, and obviously then when I became a pro, even then I'd always wear no gloves on a dry day. So I just got used to it, and I always did it. So really, until I got to Preston North End with an AstroTurf pitch, and you couldn't, use gloves on then in case you would burn your hands. Otherwise, I would not wear gloves on a dry day.
So, coming to Kyle now, do you remember these days of no gloves? Because your dad was a keeper, wasn't he?
Yeah, obviously, that's the only thing I remember from is obviously my dad telling me the stories growing up of him wearing no gloves and how lucky we are that we've got these latex gloves these days and all this. You get all this jibber jabber, don't you, from them? But yeah, there's pictures in the walls in my house back in Wales of him obviously coming for crosses with no gloves on and stuff like that. So it was a rude awakening, but obviously I was fortunate enough never to obviously would not wear any gloves, you know what I mean? So obviously I wouldn't like that thought of wearing no gloves, to be honest. But yeah, but Farney turned out to be a great keeper without any gloves, so I commend him.
I'm sure Scott Bennett quite liked the fact that you were wearing gloves.
That was one of my favorite, and I was new to Twitter, but I was brought to the joys of it, Kyle, when obviously there was a situation one of the England-Scotland game where the keeper came out and managed to make contact not with the ball but with somebody's head, and everybody was saying that was a penalty, and your tweet straight away was never a pen.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder.
I don't know what they're talking about, do they? To be fair, I was sat at home and I wasn't even watching the game, and I just see my phone go ping, 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 ping. So I was thinking, what the hell's going on there, sort of thing. So I run over to my phone, and then it just obviously all the Newport, all the Morecambe, just, everybody who watched the game just started tagging me and stuff, and so I just thought, great time to have a bit of friendly banter, and I got some nibbles and I got some laughs, but it was all in the right heart, to be honest. But it was all a bit of fun in the end.
So I'll stick with you now for now, Kyle. It's a bit of I'm not saying it's a strange story, but you came to us and immediately came in as first choice after being shall we say let go by Chesterfield. And obviously Chesterfield were doing okay in the National League, but they weren't exactly pulling up any trees. And then all of a sudden you're down for us. You're in his first choice, and me and Joel have discussed this before on the as we thought, you've got to judge how somebody when they comes in how they've done, and you've never put a foot wrong. You've been absolutely brilliant, mate. So I mean it's a strange story, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously with the Chesterfield thing, I think it was more of obviously one knew about the other. I knew about Morecambe before Chesterfield let me go, so I went into Chesterfield and I said, look, obviously I've got Morecambe interested. If they're in a higher division, I want to go play back in the league. Will you let me go? And the manager at the time said, obviously I just kept 6-7 clean sheets in a row for him. So he was like, hang on a minute, you're gonna have to give me a day or two to get a keeper in. And the next day I came in and he said, right, I've got one lined up. If you want to go that bad, then then you can, sort of thing. So that it came about a mutual agreement that way. And then obviously, I'd be stupid not to. I looked at the table and I think obviously we were travelling down to Exeter, that night, and I think we were third in the league. So in January, you know what I mean? So a great shot of getting promoted with a manager that trusts me and that I know if I come in and perform for him, he'll sort of play me week in, week out. So I was like, it was a no-brainer really, and I came in from day one, just great set of lads, and enjoyed every minute of it, and that's still the case now.
And finishing up, did you dream when you came in? Did you think, well, this might end up in promotion, particularly at Wembley?
Do you know what? At the start, we just took it, for what it is, sort of thing. But when it started getting about 10 games in, and we were all the boys in that dressing room were aiming for automatic, and we all thought we could get it and would get it, sort of thing. And to miss out by a point in the last game of the season was a bit gutting, but it just shows what character we did have in that dressing room, that we could just brush it to one side and go through the playoff games like we did. That was a great testament to all the boys involved in that. And we went to Wembley, and we did the job.
So looking at it, it's been a pretty positive move. Obviously, signed a new contract. You're pretty settled now.
Yeah, settled. Obviously, find myself obviously out of the team at the minute. Obviously, which is a bit obviously disappointing. But these things happen in football. You just got to sort of brush yourself down and try your hardest to now get back in the team, sort of thing. But I'm still loving it at the club, sort of thing. I'm not really looking to go elsewhere. Obviously, I want to play for Morecambe, sort of thing, and hopefully that can be the case. This season that I've got to wrestle my shirt back at the minute.
So from that, then we can gather that Farney's got you fit again.
Yes, he has. Obviously, he sent me for a scan. I just made a routine dive to my left one day in training, and felt a click in my shoulder. Carried on, didn't think anything of it, and woke up the next day and I couldn't lift my shoulder up. So. And that was the day of the Rotherham game, so it'll be a bit of a predicament for the bench. They were going to put me on it unfit, just because they didn't want anybody to be seen without a keeper on the bench, because if they seen that, they might have targeted Jokel a bit more. I was willing to do that sort of thing, but obviously the manager decided against it, and then obviously that became when Baz stepped in for 2 games, and yeah, now I'm obviously fully fit. I've trained the last sort of week or so, so I'm looking to push now to obviously hopefully regain my place at some stage.
So looking at what was Barry like training with, because he was in the warm-ups that I saw, he looked like a frightened rabbit in car headlights.
To be honest, obviously I was in the gym, so obviously Farney would be probably better to ask that question too, because I was upstairs in the gym doing rehab on my shoulder and that. So obviously I didn't really. Only time I really seen him was, like you said, in the warm-up sort of thing. And he was getting stiffer and stiffer by the day, asking, please, when you're back, because my hips can't deal with this anymore.
So my last question for you is, obviously goalkeepers, and Farney, you're an honorary member of this. Goalkeepers, you've got to be a bit mental. You've got to be a bit tapped, haven't you? Come on.
Yeah, of course you have. Obviously, in my eyes, you're not a keeper if you're not, sort of thing. And if you look at the keepers, our players, Jokel's as mad as they come, bonkers. Probably at 19 years of age, I don't think I've seen anybody that bonkers in all my life, sort of thing, and confident. And then obviously I'm the exact same. I'd throw myself in front of anything. It's just the way you're growing up as a keeper. You either love it or you hate it, sort of thing. If you hate it, and it's the wrong position for you. And you've got to be a bit doolally to be in there, to be honest. But it's I wouldn't want to do anything else, to be honest. It's something I've loved since being a little boy, and I've been fortunate to call it my job for the last sort of 15 years. So, I'm a very lucky boy.
So it sounds like with Barry and Farney and Yockel, you're in good company then.
Yeah, we all have a good laugh every day and a good joke about me and Farney take the pee out of each other all day, every day sort of thing. So the cracks there between us all, and we give it buzz as well, and it's all in good love in the end, isn't it, fans?
It is, yeah, all good banter.
So I'm going to come to you now, Si. You've probably been the busiest man since the start of the season, and I was laughing with Joel last week in the fact that we signed Jonathan Abika and he got injured, so we signed a younger to replace him and he got injured. So then we signed Shaun Harrison and he got injured to replace him, and then I'm like, for God's sake, because it's you didn't expect this, did you, at the start of the season? These freak injuries.
No, and they've all come to strikers, like you say, so that's the most disturbing thing. I think Cole Stockton's had a bit of a word with somebody and taken them all out. Because more, like I say, all of them have got injured one after the other.
He could walk on water at the minute anyway.
Yeah, true, yeah. So what's the situation, Farney? Are things improving? Obviously, we've heard Kyle's back fit again. What's the situation with Aaron Wildig and Shaun Harrison and et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, Aaron's back fit now. He's training every day. He played in the Blackburn last week. Besides that, they're all progressing well at the Beakers. Long-term injuries, he's been weak injury back to playing in December. He's just in the pool at the moment and can start doing some bike work from Saturday, 6 weeks post-operation. So he's progressing well. Ayunga's doing very well. He had an operation 3 weeks ago now, and probably joining training with about 5 weeks. So he's not too far off. He's progressing well. Shaun's fractured a bone in his foot. He had a PRP injection with Andy Young yesterday. And again, similar to him, he'll be about to report 5 weeks. Yeah. So that's what we're up to.
Well, thanks for the update. I'm just hoping, obviously we've got Wimbledon on Saturday, which I'll come to in a minute, but they're notoriously brilliant set pieces this season, so I'm expecting a few head injuries.
Let's hope not.
No, exactly. Right, Dan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
People, obviously, you voiced an interest on Shrimp's Voices, saying, and a couple of people suggested, "Oh, why don't you get fans on?" And this is, and I'm not going to embarrass you now because we'll come to it, but the situation was, I was like, "Oh yeah, like, we'll have you on as a member of the trust," and this is where you have to come clean now, Dan.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, when I think I responded to a comment on a Shrimp's Voices thread, just saying, yeah, no, great, I'll wait for your call, and that was in jest, and I got a message saying, yeah, we'll have you on. I was like, oh, wow, okay, great, and it's something I've been meaning to do for a little while now, is actually join the Shrimp's Trust.
Joel, get
yeah,
now.
Yeah,
I know. We'll have to hammer him for it.
Now. Yeah, and the message about coming onto this podcast tonight from Freez saying, "Oh, I assume you're a member of the trust." I was like, "Well, actually, I was thinking I'll wait until I come on and find out really how to. I'm desperate to do it, but I don't know how to do it. Like,
sign him up now, Joel. Live.
Yeah.
That's what that. Yeah, I'm sure that'll make absolutely thrilling content. Me getting somebody to sign up for the Shrimp's Trust on the podcast. It's what the fans. It's what everybody wants to see, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sure we can sort that out after we.
Yeah.
So go on then, Dan. I know you've got the right shirt on there. That was one of my favourites from about 6 or 7 seasons ago. That was the Nick Fenton shirt. That one.
Yeah.
How did you become a Morecambe fan? Tell us.
Well, I guess some people would probably label me a little bit of a glory hunter. It just doesn't sound right. I started supporting them in the 2006-07 season. Very early on in that season, I was living in Haysham, and a friend of mine and his dad had tickets to watch a Tuesday night game against Tamworth, 0-0. First game. Yeah, first game. But yeah, I mean, sort of growing up, I'd always had an interest in football, but like a lot of my friends were like Man United, like Chelsea, and I didn't really feel like, you know, I just think that was kind of you know, for the fact that they're sort of playing and winning all the time, it was just not really my kind of thing. But yeah, this game dull, as I remember, 0-0. But just caught the bug from there, and yeah, no, it was great. And obviously having to obviously live in Bristol now, that would have limited my you know, ability to go to as much games as I would like. Obviously, with iFollow last season, I was able to watch every game, but there would have been some good ones to go and watch. You know, from here, if I could have done. Weirdly enough, my last 3 games that I've been able to go to have all been against Newport. So it was the Wembley final, which was great. That was brilliant. And then it was, I think it was maybe 1 or 2 games before the lockdown was probably the worst game of football I've ever seen.
It was the very last game before lockdown.
Was it? Yeah, it was terrible.
It was the worst game of football
I've
ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
Henry felt in the shed roof look interesting. It
was terrible. I said to my wife, I said, you know, we've got to go to this, you know, because it's just over the bridge. Literally, I can see the bridge now. It's just over the bridge. So, like, come on. She'd never been to a football game. I was like, you'll love it. Like, you know, doing all right at the moment, doing okay. And afterwards, she said, is that like a good game of football? I was like, no. I'm so sorry. Like, you know, I think it was about 30 quid. And yeah, that was a terrible game. And to sort of top it off, like, obviously we're actually managing to lose that game as well. I don't really know how that happened, because I don't really recall like a shot. So I don't really.
Well, if you remember, I remember the game. It was blowing a hoolie. And the wind was swirling. The pitch was like a ploughed field that you wouldn't have put conifers on. And our keeper at the time, if you remember, he came out for a cross and punched it straight to their guy who absolutely mishit it, but somehow it scuttled in. And it was like, please kill me now, because that was the worst game ever.
Yeah, and then there was a chance right at the end with it was Harvey Bradbury, and I sort of remember I think he lobbed the keeper, and I'm sort of thinking, I don't quite know how that's not gone in, but you know, it's just one of those. It was just one of those utterly forgettable games. And then the time before that was actually my stag do. I was treated to a box at the Mazuma, and my mates had me dress up in a too small shirt and walk out onto the pitch, and I felt like right idiot. Like, I was, you know, already quite a few beers in, and I was wearing these tiny t-shirt and tiny shorts, and yeah, it'd be like sort of shaking hands with some of the Newport players, thinking, what am I doing? And you could tell they were looking at me like, who's this? Like, who's this guy? Like, it was strange, but that was a great game as well. Like, I think 1-0 down quite early on, there was a shot that looked so it might not have gone in. It was very tight. I think the linesman gave it as over the line. And then I think Kev was involved with Carlos.
You do surprise me.
Actually, for us at the time, in a turnaround win. And it's one of the best goals I've actually seen live. Was I think it was Wilding that might have ended up finishing it off, but it was a lovely team move. And so I don't get to as many games as I'd like to, and obviously with us going up to League One, and the teams coming down from League One to League Two, being Bristol Rovers and Swindon, they would be ideal for me. They'd be great, but not going to happen. But it's still Cheltenham. Try and get to Oxford, and I'm going to try and get to as many home games as I can as well, because atmosphere at the moment just seems incredible.
Never mind that, you've got to join the Shrimps Trust before you do any of that.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, I'll do that before the night's out.
Good man. That's what I like. You see, new member, Joel.
Yeah.
So, James, I'll come to you now. I know you had the meeting with the Shrimps Trust. You're the board member who's responsible for the communication with the Shrimps Trust. Any updates for us?
Yeah, the relationship with the trust is just getting better and better. I think the idea was just to get a regular monthly call in. It was quite a while ago, and we've had now a few of those. I think Joel will attest to the fact that now that we've got general manager involved, I'm becoming increasingly redundant, which is perfect. So I'm now a happy bystander as sort of Ben takes on the various bits of feedback and can actually do something with him himself rather than me passing a message on to somebody who passes a message on again. I know the relationship's really good. And there's been some good stuff we've been able to do. Like the trust raised that money for the roof a while ago. It's been great that that's now being able to get across to the club because the piling's going in and the work's starting to get that roof behind the Bartercard stand. The trust was really quick in turning around volunteers to get new seats in the stadium, which is fantastic. The trust is doing its transport again this season, and there's just a good relationship there, and it's getting stronger by the month, which is fantastic. So I think again, we said back in at the beginning of the year we wanted all the different parts of the Morecambe family to work well together. Well, here we are in September, and as things stand, they're working really well. So yeah, it's really good and it's enjoyable as well because the guys who make up the trustees, some have been around less time, some have been around more time, but they're all just given the time for free and just volunteering whatever they can to further the interests of fans and also the club. So yeah, it's just a really good thing. It's quite humbling to be involved.
Thanks for the update. I'll move on. I'll come back to Joel now, and obviously I'll get Kyle involved here as well, and Dan's thoughts on this. Wimbledon Saturday. As I've said before, looking at just so watch a highlights package of the Wimbledon games. Lots of goals, lots of chances from set pieces, which is probably the old Wimbledon way. A great win against Oxford last Saturday. I think they've only lost once, and that was at Stadium of Light to Sunderland. They got a 2-2 draw after being 2-0 down at Ipswich. This is not going to be an easy game, Joel, Saturday.
No, not at all. They've had a good start to the season. Obviously, like you say, they've had a lot of goals. I think they're quite high in the attacking numbers. They get it forward quite quickly, and it's kind of good to see that they're able to do that after. Obviously, they had Joe Pigott last season. They've lost him in the summer, but they're still able to kind of keep up momentum and still kind of come out and attack properly, which is good. And I think it's encouraging almost to see them doing well for a club like ourselves, because I think their gate is around. I think it was averaging 4,000 before lockdown, and obviously we're kind of looking to kind of get around that. So it's just good to see another kind of club at this level who aren't considered like a historically massive club. I know, but that they're surviving and they're continuing to do well, and it's just great to see. And obviously, I'm just hoping it'll be a good game on Saturday and one that will win.
So coming to you, Kyle. Obviously, we've got Shane McLaughlin that we actually signed from Wimbledon. You would kind of think, he's had a couple of seasons there, he might be in prime position to actually give the gaffer some tips. Do you reckon?
Yeah, we had a meeting this morning. Obviously, I won't indulge too much into it. I think the gaffer will tell me off if I do. But yeah, we know all about their strengths and weaknesses and stuff like that. So. They got a big boy, Ollie Palmer up front, the big handful on his day, sort of thing, winning headers, etc. So we know we need to get our best to null and void that, to start with. But more importantly as well, can we continue doing what we've been doing good, not just what they've been doing bad, sort of thing. So you concentrate more on us, and when you've got somebody like Cole in the form that he is, when you can score goals with a drop of a hat like he does at the moment, it can only be a confidence booster for the team, and hopefully we can continue that form into this next one coming along now also.
Dan, your thoughts on this one? Wimbledon probably living up to the hype of Wimbledon of old. We know they're going to be in our faces, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think certainly early on in the season, but I feel like we've surprised a lot of teams already, and I think definitely they have as well. I think a lot of the sort of things I've been listening to and sort of expert opinion has Wimbledon right down there struggling. And I think sort of historically that's kind of what they've done as well, is they've struggled. They put together like a mad run kind of sort of halfway through the season and end up sort of mid-table almost. It's quite straight, but they seem to have started off really well this season. But then again, I think as you say, sort of focus more on us as well, and the strengths that we have at the moment. And I think certainly at home, we've looked really solid. And I think, it'd be a battle, I think, but I definitely think we'd be up for it. And it just feels like it's been so long since we've had a game, because of that international break where we've had too many players called up for international duty. It's so it's nice to it's nice to be back. Definitely, I think it'd be a tough game for sure, because I think they do seem a really good side, certainly physical. Quietly confident, I think.
So I do think, from that point of view, we've had continuity from the start of the season in probably 90% of the team, but losing Sam to Charlton, which is great for Sam, and it was a deserved move for him. And as we discovered last week, it was the right move for him. It was the right move for the club. So I'll come to James now, because obviously we've lost Sam, we've lost Carlos, and then the sort of like, if you like, the fly in the ointment was obviously Manchester United poaching a decent young centre half of ours as well. Talk us through that one.
Yeah, that was back in October, November last year. Jack Kingdom was a young lad who the team and the academy had put a lot of time and effort into over a few years. He was doing really, really well. United and a couple of other clubs were watching him. I don't think his dad will mind me saying that his dad's a big Man United fan, and Jack is as well. And it was one of those situations where you obviously want to keep all of your best players, and we want the academy to be able to keep all of its best players. But there's a point where you sort of think, well, is this the best move for the club, for the young lad, for everybody really? And it was one of those. They came in initially, and we, as we always do, said no, and then they came in again, and we said no again, and we went back and forth a bit. He's got a cracking move, and he's gone down there and he's doing really well. He got called up for for a training camp for the national team with Scotland not that long ago. He's captained the under-16s down there. He's played for the under-18s as well. So he's a young lad who's clearly got a part of their pathway, and he's in a good place. And in that situation, I think we wish players all the very best. I think Stephen and Dermot have both made the point of late, and it's very much something that the whole club is thinking. We want to be a club that's full of ambitious people, ambitious players, ambitious staff members, and just ambition generally. And so when something comes calling, and it genuinely is a move like that, you've got to encourage it, but obviously encourage it whilst making sure that the club does good business along the way, because all of that then goes back into all the other things we're doing.
Yeah, so it did come as a surprise, but I mean, it's I know you were keen to discuss the we like to keep our business in house, don't we? And the undisclosed fee.
It's funny, the undisclosed fee thing. I've read a couple of bits on it, and I've heard people's opinions, and the generally sort of held opinion seems to be that undisclosed is because one club or the other is embarrassed about the piece of business it's just done, which makes some sense sometimes. But I think the actual truth is a bit more complicated than that. The reality is that the transfer fees nowadays, for anybody, even for a young 15-year-old, they're a lot more complex than just a fee. And yet the only thing that people are really interested in, the only bit that the press will put out, in sort of big shining lights, is the cash amount that you get at the beginning. But especially if you're coming up with the right deal for a younger player who's got huge potential, the sell-on is a big deal. The additional clauses on appearances are a big deal. The potential clauses on national appearances or on promotions are a big deal. And the reality is Kyle's been a professional footballer for a long time. The reality is that deals are a lot more complicated than just a fee. And if you had to go through the process of explaining all of that, it's not just a fee. I think the reality, we're pleased with what's happened over the last 10 to 12 months. We've done good business, really good business for the football club, especially given where the market's been at. I think that an impartial observer or two would say that that's the case. But we've respected the interests of the clubs we've been dealing with, and when they said we'd like it to be undisclosed, we said that's fine for us. And ultimately, these things tend to come out in the wash in the future anyway, because accounts are published and the like. But it's all good business for the club. But transfer fees are more complicated than just an amount you get now, and especially for a younger player, you want to maximise every part of the package, if you like, in the interest of the football club.
That's a very diplomatic answer there. I think people do read into it, don't they? That it's a bit sort of clandestine and a bit sort of MI5 if it's not got a cash sum spread.
You tend to find that one club or the other says it was an excellent deal, but it tends to be only one club that says it's an excellent deal, so you can read a bit into that.
Yeah, true. Yeah, good point. Right, Joel and Dan, I'm going to come to you two now because I know you've got a couple of questions both for Kyle and for Farney. So, Joel, do you want to go first? Oh yeah, you got to switch it.
Yeah, I've just done. I can't believe I'm meant to be the one in charge of all the tech stuff as well. But
the good thing is he's going to have to edit this because he cocked up.
I know, yeah, I'll have to edit it, or maybe I'll just leave it in for comedic effect. I don't know. Maybe I've just got to, be able to laugh at myself a little bit. But obviously, you're one of the members of the squad who came in. Actually, there was quite a few who came in last season who played under Derek Adams before. So I was just thinking a bit earlier, actually, how did last season's side compare to previous Derek Adams side you played for at Plymouth?
Very similar. You often find with Derek's teams, they're full of experience. He doesn't really tend to play as many young boys as other clubs do, I'd say, barring your number 10s or wingers. He likes to know exactly what he's going to get out of his sort of starting 11 week in, week out. And if you perform that on a Saturday, then you're going to play for him regardless, sort of thing. So it's hard work is the minimum for him. If you don't run, you don't play. Simple as it comes for Derek, sort of thing. That's the first thing you need to do. And there's no sort of there's no frills about it. Keep the ball as far away from our goal as possible. And when we got it in their final third, go and express yourselves. You're free to do as you please. So he likes his defenders to be stern, very good defensively, not so good going forward, and he wouldn't mind saying that. Really, his wing backs are probably like Liam Gibson, probably one of the best defensive left backs I've seen in a long time. You don't see much getting past him, sort of thing. And then he had obviously Kelvin and Cooney on the other side again, really good one-on-one defenders, sort of thing, and two centre halves that just in Sam and Nat were their strong game was heading and kicking, sort of thing. And then you got Jan doing the exact same in the middle of the park. So he had that at Plymouth as well. But and then he had his flair players like the likes of Graham Carey and Lemires at Plymouth, and which he had Gomez, Wildig, and Cole at our place. If you look at that from that point of view, they're very similar teams, and I believe that's why he gets the success in this league that he does, because he keeps it simple for his teams. He doesn't overcomplicate it.
Oh, so that was lots of information. I quite enjoyed listening to that. And just on goalkeeping, before obviously you mentioned about competing for the shirt, just in kind of general, that obviously the dynamic of a goalkeeper is really, really unique, in that there is just very obviously one shirt, and it's very much you're competing for it. So obviously you're kind of supporting and you're pushing each other as goalkeepers. Is that sometimes a trick, just speaking in generally rather than about a specific situation, but is that something that can be tough to maintain, or is there a bit of a kind of goalkeepers union thing, so it's quite easy to gel and stick together?
It's a weird one, because it's a position where you'll find that they'll have the most respect for each other, because obviously I can speak for myself only. I don't like seeing other keepers making mistakes or getting injured, etc. So you'll always the keeper knows exactly what it feels like to make a mistake. I know what it feels like to make a mistake, so I don't wish that upon any other keeper, just for me to get my sort of place back. But obviously I know that for me, in order to get my place back, I have to perform better than the person in front of me, sort of thing. So it's all done in the right heart. Obviously like I said, it's not Pacific based, but obviously me and Yock will get on brilliant. I'll support him because he's, at the end of the day, he's a 19-year-old goalkeeper. he's going to make mistakes like I did at that age, like I will do now. You know what I mean? Every keeper makes mistakes regardless of age. But but obviously we'll push each other all the way, and hopefully that can only benefit Morecambe in the long run.
Cheers, thank you, Carla. Dan, take a few questions now if you want, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I thought for a minute that was going to be exactly what I was going to ask, but I did have a question as well for Kyle, just in terms of obviously being one of the players that was with us last season as well as this. How have you found it to be sort of different under the new manager as opposed to obviously work with Derek before? Some of the sort of differences in sort of training and things like that.
Yeah, very different to be honest. Stephen to Derek's training is completely different. Derek, you knew you were doing, and every given day of the week, you knew there or thereabouts, unless he threw a curveball, which he very rarely did. You knew exactly what you're doing Monday, exactly what you're doing Tuesday, exactly Thursday, Friday. You were doing this, and then on to the games. Where Stephen's everything based around the game on Saturday. He'll put on drills that will go into the game that we have, like he put on a drill on Monday that was going to benefit us against Wimbledon on Saturday. Where you wouldn't find Derek would do that. Derek would play more sort of small-sided games all the time to keep boys fit and more enjoyable sort of thing. That in a way, if that's really not that Stephen. That sounded wrong because not that his training is not enjoyable sort of thing, but two vast different ways, but two highly successful ways. If you in doing it, everyone's different. There's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say, sort of thing. But two very different coaches, but both very enjoyable.
Yeah, he hasn't had anything on a Sunday yet, has he? He hasn't had anything on a Sunday yet, no.
No, not yet. not yet. No, but
I just thought I'd get that in because I know that Derek liked his Sundays, didn't he?
Yeah, but obviously down in Plymouth, Derek liked his Sundays also. So he never changed in that regard, sort of thing. That's his way. It's not for some, but it's his way. With Derek, it was his way or no way. You know what I mean? It was. That's the way he was, and who can fault his track record from it? You know what I mean? Who can tell him otherwise, sort of thing.
No.
So,
no complaints from us, Kyle.
Yeah. So there's a few moans and groans about coming in on Sunday. Just trust me from the boys, but we just got on with it. And end of the day, we got the medal around the chest, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, great. I was also interested. So when I was sort of growing up, goalkeeper was a position that I tried and failed. So I guess I always have an interest in watching goalkeepers when I go to watch football games. And obviously, with last season being able to watch on iFollow, I was very impressed with pretty much every game I think that you were involved in. And I think I was very pleased when it was announced that you'd re-signed with us. I must admit, I was a little surprised, but pleasantly. I just didn't think. I thought you might have been going, but I just wondered if that was a particularly sort of easy decision for you, and if so, what is it about the club that because you seem to be quite settled in now?
Yeah, to be honest, it was an absolutely why not? When can we get the deal done, sort of thing. Since I'd been at the club, there's been nothing but good things happening. You know what I mean? I wanted to continue that and ride this journey with the club. So obviously, there was a bit of up in the air because obviously the manager situation at the end of the season. Who's he gonna try and take with him? Who's the new manager going to come in? Is he going to like me? Is he not? Sort of thing. So it was all up in the air at that stage. You know what I mean? So nobody knew where. But obviously, then I had the phone call of Stephen saying that they wanted to retain me, and it happened pretty swiftly after that, to be honest. So I was delighted to sign, and hopefully it can be a successful season again this season, because I can't see any reason why not.
Great, yeah, thank you.
So I've got a couple of things to touch on before we wrap up. First of all, I noticed the ball sponsor for Saturday at Wimbledon is Homer Shrimpson. So it was somebody's done that. Somebody's done that with obviously a sense of humour. We don't know who it is. If you do know who it is, please let us know. But Homer Shrimpson is the ball sponsor. So that's quite an interesting one. And the big news, which I can announce on here, because obviously we go out Friday morning. Congratulations to Cole, EFL Player of the Month, which is absolutely fantastic. And Joel, it's no surprise, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, look at the goal. I mean, look how he kicked the season off with that goal against Ipswich, and then just another one for good measure, which was good in itself, the way he pressed. But yeah, he's been on fire. I think it's 4 league goals in August, and I think 6 overall. So, I don't know how anybody could possibly argue against him winning it. I mean, I'm sure there will be people, throwing mud around on Twitter, as there always are. But look what he's done. Like some of the solo goals he's scored, like the skill he's shown in scoring those goals, like thoroughly deserved winner.
I think there's a lot to be said, and obviously he was brought to the club on loan from Tranmere, and the Tranmere fans were saying he'll never make a striker in League Two, and they're right, because he's a striker in League One now. But the thing that tickles me is obviously he went to Hearts because he admitted he chased the money, which is fine. But he went to Carlisle, and Carlisle said he couldn't get arrested while playing for Carlisle, and then he came back on loan to us again, and then we got him permanently. And as ex-professionals, Farney, and you as a current professional, Kyle, there is something to be said for if you're treated properly and you're happy at that club, you will prosper, and that's exactly what's happened to Cole. Cole has never scored goals anywhere else other than Morecambe Football Club, and I think there's a lot to be said for being happy and settled and someone who trusts you. Farney?
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, and he's proven that, hasn't he, over the summer, because I'm sure he could have probably moved on to somewhere else, whether he got more money or not, but he's actually stayed with us, didn't he? And I think he realises that Morecambe is good for him.
And Kyle, you've just said virtually the same thing yourself. You're happy here, and it's nice to be valued. But somebody who's like a goal scorer like Cole, class is permanent, but it can come and go. But obviously, Cole was doing the business without scoring some games last season, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And it also shows when somebody shows you a bit of confidence, like Derek did. He was going to play in his team regardless, and knowing that he was going to play week in, week out, and I think he thrived from it, to be honest. And then obviously Derek put his arm around his shoulder and told him how good he was, sort of thing. And you could just see him excelling week in. When I from the first week that I got to the player I see now is like it's mass difference, because the confidence in the boy as well, just grown and grown and grown. He's always messing around the place, and he's always a bit of a I think always trying to somebody or mess around with somebody or etc. But I think he's really knuckled down over the last sort of year or so, and you can see that. I think he's coming out with his performances now. I think he's not like Farney said, that he hasn't gone anywhere is because he feels happy and content at a place, and that's more important to him at this stage of the season than like obviously he said about chasing money before, that he might have gone for the wrong move before because he chased the money. You know what I mean? But you can clearly see now he's happy, content, and I think field why he's scoring the goals he is.
Kyle, are you sure that Derek put his arm around him?
What?
Are you sure Derek put his arm around him?
I think he told him he loved him, didn't he? So,
He said, I love that player.
He went on the radio and said, I love him to bits. I was like, what the hell is going on?
I've never heard Derek say that to anybody, so he must be a special breed.
So I'll bring Dan in on this one. Cole, he was on here a few weeks ago, and we called Toombs the Vieira of the Bay, and Cole was like, "What's my nickname?" And I was like, "Cole the Goal." Hello, and it's come to fruition since. He's been an absolute beast of a centre forward for us for the past couple of seasons, Dan, hasn't he?
Yeah, massively so. I'd say he's one of those players. I think, as you said, it just seems to click for him at this club, and when he's sort of gone elsewhere, it's not really worked out. But it was great to see him come back, and I think I certainly remember sort of when I was talking about my friends who support other clubs. So it's sort of say, oh yeah, he's the one that went up and couldn't score any goals in the Scottish League. So like, you know, he's going to be, yeah. And I'm like, no, he's good. And it's, yeah, I think they're finally starting to kind of see that actually there is a player in there, like, and it's not just me saying no, he is good, like just because I support the team. But yeah, he's massive. I think that was such a big deal for us when he signed on for another contract. But massive player, and it's got to be sort of good to have that person to kind of play the balls into. But it seems to be as well that the way he can kind of run with the ball and sort of hold people off as not just kind of a sort of a target man to lump it forward to, is so much more in his game than that. But yeah, just I think quite a key player to how we play. As well, obviously, when you touched on it with Toombs there as well, he's another one. I think that was just a massive thing when he signed on. I think he's just a different level to anything I've ever seen, sort of in Morecambe's midfield for sure. But yeah, definitely was so pleased to keep Cole, and I'm not surprised to see him win the Player of the Month. So that's great.
Well, the positive thing from Cole's point of view is that all the people that we've signed to try and play alongside him, he's slowly but surely, as Stan has already said, he's getting him injured. So he's making sure he's completely and utterly unreplaceable up front. But I'll finish with you, James. He's so important to the way we've played, both under Derek, and straight away Stephen saw exactly how we can play with Cole. For me now, he's added goals to his game, and he looks like the complete player, particularly at this level.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you said it earlier. He scores goals for Morecambe. He scored goals on his loan spell with us, and got a good number in his best season. And since he basically in this calendar year, actually, I think I said recently, after the goal in the FA Cup, that absolutely fantastic volley against Solihull, he just seemed to click. And this calendar year, if you add up the goals he scored at the end of last season and goals he scored this season, he's absolutely flying. But as Derek and Kyle will attest to you far more than me, you don't necessarily need that from him, because he's so good in his hold-up play. He's so good at keeping the ball. His close control, once he's got the ball within kind of that arc of control, he's almost impossible to get off it. And you'll have two players nipping at his heels, and he'll keep that ball. But the goals in this calendar year have just been fantastic. So it's awesome, and he's only 27, and he's fit as a fiddle. So yeah, he's wonderful to see. It really is. It's really wonderful to see, and it's the hardest position to find somebody in and who can do their job consistently. So it's just, yeah, I think everybody's enjoying it. Fans, his teammates, managers, the lot. He's just doing a wonderful job.
I think that's congratulations to Cole on being the EFL Player of the Month. I think it's a great place to finish. Thank you very much to Joel, to Farney, to James, to Dan, and to Kyle for sparing the time tonight. We hope you've enjoyed this. This has been episode 11 of the ShrimpNet podcast. All views expressed are those of the contributors, not necessarily those of Shrimps Trust or Morecambe Football Club. Dan's now going to go off screen and get his wallet out so he can join the Shrimps Trust. And if he doesn't, we're sending Kyle and Fanny round. But thanks for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed this. We hope the chip vans are busy against Wimbledon on Saturday and hope for a good result. Join us again for episode 12 next week, when we have yet more surprise guests and probably even more to talk about. Thanks for joining us.